When I was about 20 years old, I saw Gibson Les Paul Custom Black Beauty guitar for the first time in my life. I've been growing up in East Europe, in a very poor country, and I thought, oh geez, I will never be able to afford this kind of guitar in my whole life. I will never be able to play it. But here we go. Now I live in the United States and I have multiple Gibson Les Paul custom shops in my collection. So I just want to say, never give up on your dreams. It's actually good to have dreams and aspirations. They tend to come true. Hey, it's Andy Paul and you're watching Guitar Guru channel. Today we're gonna talk about this particular gem from my collection. It's a reissue of 1968 Gibson Les Paul Custom. And you know, it's not really a black beauty per se, because I've heard only 1956, 57, and I believe 60 models are truly black beauty type of Gibson Les Paul Custom. But I call this guitar from my collection Black Beauty, well, because it's black and because it's beautiful. In this particular year of 1968, Gibson actually came up with a perfect recipe of combining mahogany body with maple top and mahogany neck with black wood, or so-called ebony wood on the neck. At Gibson Custom Shop, the wood is selected manually by hand by professionals, and that ensures you will have highest possible quality of the sound in your instrument. This is why you pay top dollar for these guitars if they are custom shop. Now we all know that combination of mahogany and maple is a win-win combination and it affects the sound greatly, but at the same time we know that other brands and models use mahogany and maple in their guitars, but none of them has this raw power and roaring sound of Les Paul Custom. In 1968, the Gibson factory introduced new humbuckers and custom buckers that give you this more contemporary rock music sound that you can hear in, let's say, Whitesnake 1987. When John Sykes recorded absolutely all guitars on the album of Whitesnake 1987 using a very similar guitar to this one. One of the drawbacks for Gibson guitars in general, and specifically custom shop guitars, is that they're very, very expensive. I ordered this particular guitar and paid more than 7,000 bucks for it, because its Murphy Lab goes through artificial aging process that looks really cool. However, despite of being overpriced, good luck to you to find a guitar for about 5,000 bucks. It's almost impossible. All the cheaper custom shop Les Paul Customs are on pre-orders. So initially I ordered one for 5,000, and I've been waiting for 5 or 6 months and the guitar was not delivered. So I had to rearrange my order and buy a Murphy Lab version, which was more expensive, but at least I could get a hold of it. So it's overpriced, but at the same time, it's still very hard to find. So good job, Gibson factory. It's very easy to drive prices up when there is such a big demand. Another interesting point about Gibson Les Paul Custom guitar is that these guitars are very heavy. This is the heaviest guitar in my entire collection. Most of them are 10 pounds and up. And just because it was Murphy Lab and wood was specially selected, people who work at Murphy Lab, they picked lighter parts for it. So this guitar is about 9.7 pounds. Still the heaviest one in my collection. At the same time, these heavy parts and heavy accessories on this guitar most likely play a specific role in getting this roaring sound, in making it sound exceptional. The possibilities of what you can play on this instrument are truly endless. The music styles this particular guitar can cover in a single preset would be jazz, ballad, classical rock, grunge and light grunge like ZZ Top, southern rock like Allman Brothers or Lynyrd Skynyrd, then all the way up to Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, and even death metal. And the way the components of these guitars are put together, it actually lets you hear the wood sound more than any metal accessories that you see on this guitar. The funny part about playing Les Paul standard custom doesn't matter. I have multiple custom shops. They all present this perception of you hearing the actual wood sound through the string. So it sounds like string is not stretched between metal bridge and, let's say, plastic nut, right? But as if it was stretched between two pieces of wood. That's a very, very distinct feeling and sound you get when you play Gibson Les Paul. If you have one of these guitars, you know what I'm talking about. You hear the wood without even pressing your ear against the wooden part of your guitar. Let me show you the magic of Les Paul Custom. How in a single preset, on a single sound, without changing anything in my mixer or processor, I can play everything from jazz to ballad, then I can add a little bit more crunch and do ZZ Top. Then I can add a little bit more volume and more drive. And I can cover something like Lynyrd Skynyrd. Then I can add a little bit more. I'm still in the same preset. I'm not doing anything. I'm just adding more drive through adding more volume, right, on my humbucker. I add more and I can cover something like Metallica. I add more and I can play Pantera. Or I can play even death metal. And this sustain is endless. Pretty quick negatives and positives about Black Beauty from my collection. First one would be there is no Wammy Bar. And even though you can actually find a Gibson Les Paul Custom with a Wammy Bar, it's a very old school and obsolete one. The one that's not gonna work for contemporary vibratos or dive bombs if you need to do that. So technically what guitarists like John Sykes from Whitesnake do, they play something like this to bypass the lack of Wammy Bar here. They do it with their left hand here. Something like that. You can actually install a Floyd Rose on your Gibson Les Paul Custom, and I've seen some Les Pauls with a Floyd Rose, but you know, it's such a disbalance for your eye. Technically, guitar is old school, violin type, right? It reminds you of like 50s, 60s, 70s, and this contemporary Floyd Rose looks on it as if you were trying to put a saddle on a cow. Another negative, there are not a lot of them, but the second one would be there are two volume controls, two volume knobs, and depending on which pickup you're using, you will need to turn a different volume knob to minimize or maximize the sound. And it's kind of counterintuitive. On stage, it's not very useful. You keep forgetting which pickup you are at, And let's say you thought you're all the way down, so you reach for the bottom knob to minimize volume, but it's not working. Let me show you what I mean. For example, I accidentally, or I forgot that I switched up one position, and there is sound here, right? I tried to remove, but it keeps going. You see, the other knob is gonna work. So now, the top one is the one that will remove the sound, right? So you always have to, like, you constantly remember where you are at and which knob you would do for volume control. And on stage, you will get confused. Even if you play this type of guitar for a long period of time, you still will make mistakes. In this perspective, Fender Stratocaster has an advantage because whatever number of pickups you have, there is only one volume knob to control up and down volume functionality. And the third negative, you probably guessed, it's very expensive. As I mentioned, even if you go for contemporary custom shop, your price is going to be somewhere in between 5 and 8 grand. Positives. Number one, this is the guitar that inspires. When people say, oh, I don't care about fancy guitars, I don't want to pay more than $1,000, for example, for an instrument, or it's like overpriced, it's ridiculous. You know, when you get a high-end instrument, it actually sings back to you. Just imagine you play violin and you get a hold of a Stradivarius or Guarneri violin, and let's say Nicola Paganini played this violin. Can you imagine the state of your mind when you take this instrument? Can you imagine how much inspiration will come from that instrument to you when you try to play it, knowing it's Stradivari that was played by Nicola Paganini, for example? It's huge. Second positive, this is the sound that roars. That's probably the best word that describes Les Paul Custom, especially if it's a high-end custom shop guitar. It covers, as I mentioned before, a lot of music styles, and it makes your playing and it makes you being very versatile on stage. And the third positive, the ergonomics and the components of this guitar and wood and all the parts that are put together in a very inspiring way will make you play pretty much in any guitarist style, not just music style. But if you want to be a shredder and play really, really fast, you can do it on this guitar. If you want to play something like tasty phrasing, this guitar is more than capable of giving it to you. If you want to play an intellectual rock music, it's there. It can give it to you. If you want to be super powerful and have top drive and distortion sound, again, there is nothing better than Les Paul Custom in this particular case. In conclusion, this is the guitar that makes you wanna play. And no surprise that this is my favorite one, my favorite gem in my guitar collection. And although I have high-end Fenders, PRS, Ibanez guitars, still I play this Black Beauty more. Well, now I truly hope you liked the review of this Black Beauty gem from my collection. It's a Gibson Les Paul custom shop. And if you do like this material and these reviews, please action on the channel, share, subscribe, like. It will help other people to view this particular video. This was Andy Paul and Guitar Guru channel, and as always, I wish you a success in your music career. I wish you to become a better guitar player day by day. And until next video, God bless and take care.